revealed how a poor janitor changed everything with one touching Arabic phrase, dethroning a CEO. In the heart of Chicago, an ocean of noise rolled through the bustling hallways of Lincoln High. It buzzed with youthful energy, students rushing from one class to another, their laughter echoing off bright yellow walls. Among them, often overlooked and yet vital, was Sam, the janitor. At 45, he was a gentle giant with a heart full of dreams for his two kids. He worked tirelessly, mopping floors and scrubbing desks, ensuring every corner was spotless, a haven for learning. But Sam felt invisible. The upper echelon of elite staff barely acknowledged him, and the ambitious young CEO, Ethan, swooped in like a hawk, focused solely on profits and tech buzzwords. Ethan, only 30, had a golden touch turning ideas into dollars. However, his cold ambition hovered over the community like a dark cloud. He pushed a tech hub that threatened the local shops, the lifeblood of families like Sam's. Every time Sam saw his neighbors' worried faces, mothers clutching grocery bags, fathers eyeing for sale signs, it twisted his inside like a knife. Then, one fateful afternoon, as rain began to patter against the window panes, Sam crossed paths with Ethan. The CEO brushed past him, enveloped in a cloud of self-assurance. But Sam, feeling a surge of courage, called out, "Wait." He took a breath, spoke with warmth that surprised even himself. "Kolshi Bekir. Everything will be all right." Ethan froze. The simple Arabic phrase struck a chord deep within him. Memories of his immigrant family's struggle washed over him, sparking a flicker of empathy that had long been buried under layers of ambition. Sam's quiet dignity challenged him, making him question the path he was on. Sam, unaware of the impact he had made, continued to support his community. He organized meetings, rallied neighbors, all in silence, refusing the limelight. He didn't want recognition. He wanted dignity for those he cared about. He saw how the protest against the tech hub was bringing people together, a vibrant tapestry of cultures uniting for a common cause. Fists held high with pride and resilience, as tensions rose. Both men faced a crossroads. While Sam embodied the hopes of his neighborhood, Ethan wrestled with the reality of his actions. He remembered the stories of his parents, their sacrifices, the way they cherished every penny. The dichotomy of their worlds began to clash. What would happen when they met again, with the stakes even higher? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the day of the community meeting approached, an electric tension filled the air. What would they decide? Would the people stand strong, united? Would Ethan make the choice to honor the roots he had nearly forgotten? Would one touching phrase really change everything? The crowd gathered, hearts pounding, a shared question lingering. Can one voice echo through the chaos and spark transformation? Only time would tell. As the meeting loomed just a week away, courage hanging in the balance. The day of the meeting dawned, and Lincoln High felt different. A heavy cloud hung in the sky, echoing the weight in the community's heart. Sam arrived early, his mop in hand, though today he didn't focus on cleaning. Instead, he leaned against a wall, imagining the gathering inside. The auditorium buzzed with anxious voices, filled with locals wanting their concerns heard. Hopes bright, but cautious. As he peered in through the doors, he saw Ethan standing by the podium, scanning the crowd. The contrast between them felt stark. While Sam had the weathered calm of a man who had fought hard for his place, Ethan radiated nervous energy, trying to mask the guilt creeping in. Today was pivotal for both of them. The chatter inside was like a distant drumbeat. Neighbors Sam had known for years were peeling off, nerves like layers of an old onion. Organizing protests against the tech hub wasn't just about buildings. It was about dignity, identity, taking a stand for dreams that echoed in the walls of their homes. Sam knew too well how dreams could be crushed. Suddenly the door creaked open, and Sam stepped inside. He took a deep breath, focusing on the faces of his community. They looked to him, some with empathy, others with expectations. He felt their hopes resting on his shoulders, lighter yet achingly heavy. As Ethan began to speak, his voice trembled slightly. He talked about innovation and job creation, but the words felt hollow. They didn't resonate with the people here. Sam's heart pounded as memories of his kids flashed through his mind, their laughter, their dreams intertwined with this community's future. The crowd shifted restlessly, exchanging glances. They needed something real. As if sensing the unease, Ethan's tone softened slightly. "I want to connect with you," he said, his eyes now searching for something genuine. Sam could see a storm brewing inside him, yet he felt a flicker of hope. Would this be the moment? "Speak from the heart," a voice shouted from the back, cutting through the tension. Ethan's eyes met Sam's, and for the first time, it felt like a bridge was being built between them. Sam stepped forward, reminders of his fears and dreams igniting his courage. "I have something to say," he called out, his voice steady and clear. He took a moment before continuing, looking around at the faces in the crowd. "We all want better for our kids," he said, his heart swelling. "But better isn't just about new apps or fancy tech centers. It's about feeling safe in our homes, trusting our neighbors, knowing our community will thrive together." A ripple of agreement swept through the crowd. Faces softened, nods began. Sam met Ethan's gaze again, seeing the flicker of recognition. "I just want to echo what I said before," Sam continued, his voice breaking slightly with emotion. "Kolshi be here. Everything will be all right if we do this together." The words fell like rain on thirsty ground. The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of solidarity washing over them. Sam felt their support, an energy pulsing through him. It felt like victory, a push against the tide. Ethan stood frozen, absorbing the warmth of Sam's message. The doubts in his eyes were mingling with something else. Could it be hope? But then, amidst the exhilaration, fear crept back into the room. What if Ethan couldn't let go of his plans? What if this moment wasn't enough? With the crowd still roaring their approval, he turned back to the podium, heart racing, ready to respond. But as he lifted his hand to speak, would he embrace change or stick to old ambitions? A hushed silence fell, the air thick with anticipation. In this tense moment, with futures hanging in a delicate balance, what path would Ethan finally choose? Would one man's courage ignite a change that could ripple across their community, or would it all come crashing down? Ethan's hand trembled slightly as he looked down at the podium, his mind racing. The applause from the crowd had faded, but the weight of Sam's words lingered in the air like a distant melody. It felt as if the very walls of the auditorium were watching, urging him to finally embrace the vulnerability he had fought to shield himself from. He glanced up, scanning the faces before him. Hope danced in their eyes, the same hope that had been dimmed by the relentless encroachment of that tech hub. They were looking for a leader, but beneath that expectation was something deeper, a yearning for connection, for understanding that transcended corporate jargon. "Let me be clear," Ethan began, his voice steadier than he felt inside. "Sam reminded us today of what truly matters. It's not just about technology or profit margins. It's about people. It's about community." He could feel a shift, subtle yet palpable. A murmur swept through the crowd, a mix of surprise and appreciation. For the first time, he wasn't just a faceless figure advocating for corporate interests. He was someone willing to stand with them, to listen. "I've been so focused on what this project could bring, the jobs, the new opportunities, that somewhere along the line, I lost sight of the real cost. I lost sight of all of you." Ethan swallowed hard, the words spilling out more authentically than he had imagined. The silence deepened, anticipation crackling like static electricity in the air. Sam's heart raced. Could Ethan be changing his mind? Was he finally reaching the others? Ethan took a deep breath, eyes bright with determination. "We need to come together, businesses, families, and communities alike. That tech center doesn't have to mean the end of our neighborhood. It could be an opportunity if we take control. We can shape it to fit our needs, not just what the investors dictate." The crowd began to ripple with energy again. Sam felt a flicker of relief mixed with tension. There was a chance, a glimmer of hope, but would it be enough to sway the supporters still clinging to the old plan? Seeing the warmth emanating from Sam encouraged Ethan further, gave him the strength to push through. "Let us create a council, a committee. We'll invite everyone to join in. Let your voices guide what happens next." It's time to reclaim our narrative. His words struck like a drumbeat, rallying spirits and igniting fervor. Cheers erupted, people clapping and shouting encouragement. Ethan couldn't help but grin, caught up in the moment. He caught Sam's eye, and for a heartbeat, they shared a silent understanding. This was bigger than either of them. It was a collective heartbeat, a chorus of dreams demanding to be heard. But just as the applause grew, a voice cut through the excitement, a sharp, mocking tone that belonged to none other than Daniel, the project's lead investor. And what if nobody wants to follow your new vision? What if this is just a waste of time? The exuberance fell like a deflated balloon. Eyes turned warily, uncertainty creeping back in. The solid ground beneath the movement felt shaky once again. Ethan clenched his jaw, the heat of confrontation igniting a fire within him. He couldn't let this moment pass. Then, we'll start with the ones who do, he countered, lifting his chin defiantly. Because every single voice matters. This is our home, and we'll decide how to build it. A roar of support erupted once more, but Daniel smirked, watching the proceedings with a predatory glint in his eyes. Ethan took a calming breath, feeling the weight of decision heavy in the air. Could he really lead them in this direction? Would the community rally behind this new vision? As he stood there, a mix of dread and excitement coursed through him, the tension palpable. A pivotal moment was unfolding. Would they triumph against the resistances ahead, or would the shadows of doubt once again bury their dreams? The applause continued, echoing against the walls, but amidst the cheers, what choices lay ahead? Would they unify beneath a common vision, or would external forces tear them apart? Ethan's heart thundered in his chest as he stood before the audience, feeling the electric mix of hope and fear darting through the room. The momentum was building, but he knew it could all crumble in an instant. Daniel's eyes were cold and calculating, a reminder that the corporate machinations were far from over. He glanced at Sam, who stood off to the side, her brows knitted in concern yet with a flicker of faith that she didn't know how to hide. Encouraged by her presence, Ethan raised his hands, wanting to channel the energy swirling around him and redirect it into something solid and real. We're not here to fight against progress, he insisted, his voice rising over the scattered murmurs that began to swell once more. We're here to make sure that progress includes us. This isn't about turning our home into a soulless neighborhood. A few faces in the crowd nodded, whispering to each other about how they felt. Ethan could see their resolve slowly building, and the thought spurred him on. What do we value in this community? Friendship, understanding, resilience. We need to seize this opportunity to build a neighborhood that reflects those values. A middle-aged man in the audience stood up, his face reflective of the years wrestling with corporate interests. Ethan, how do we know we can trust you? How can we be certain this isn't just campaign talk? Ethan felt a lump in his throat, but also the warmth of the crowd's eyes on him. You're right. Trust is earned. So let us make this process transparent. Let us be honest about our dreams and even our fears. We'll create an open platform where everyone can contribute. This involves all of us working together. As he spoke, he noticed several people whispering affirmatively, nodding their heads. He continued, searching for words that resonated deep within the crowd. Think about what we could achieve if we listen to each other. A tech hub can foster jobs and innovation, but it can also respect the heart of our community. Together, we can write the rules our rules. The murmurs of agreement grew louder, but just as he felt the tide turning, Daniel interrupted once more. And what if your ideals turn into naive dreams? You think a committee will survive bureaucracy? Listen, a dream only counts if it results in profit. The smile fell from Ethan's face. It's not always about profit, he shouted back, anger bubbling beneath his calm facade. It's about bettering lives. Isn't that enough? The crowd erupted in applause, but Ethan's heart hammered with uncertainty. Was it enough? Feeling emboldened, he turned back to Daniel. If you want to truly invest in this community, how about you join our council? Hearing from residents should matter more than your bottom line. We need to see changes that benefit our lives, our survival, not just yours. Daniel's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of irritation. The tension filled the air like smoke. Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline as the crowd roared in support. But he knew there was still work to do. That mutual understanding was fragile. Sam stepped forward, her voice calm, yet powerful. This is a moment of clarity for us all. If we truly want to shape our future, we need to unite. The question is, how do we do that? As they debated their next steps, Ethan caught a glimpse of a janitor outside the auditorium, quietly watching through the door. The man was old, his hands worn from years of work, yet there was a glimmer of wisdom in his eyes. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. What stories did he carry? All at once, the crowd was alive with voices, and yet Ethan felt a pull towards that older man. There was something rooted in simplicity, a reminder that sometimes change comes from the most unexpected places. He stepped away from the podium, feeling the ground shift beneath him as he approached the janitor. "Can I ask you something?" The man smiled gently, a knowing light behind his gaze, as if he had watched the rise and fall of communities before. Sometimes, the answer lies in a simple truth. Ethan felt an odd sense of anticipation fill his chest. What was this truth? He turned back to the crowd, excitement bubbling in his gut. The moment felt pivotal, alive with potential. The collective heartbeat of community pulsed through him. But now he faced a realization: what was the truth lurking just out of reach? Would the wisdom of an unseen ally reveal the path that had been missing all along? Ethan could feel the weight of everyone's eyes resting on him. The auditorium buzzed with curiosity, the earlier applause dimming into a hushed anticipation. He returned his gaze to the janitor, waiting for him to say more. The silence stretched between them like a taut wire, sparking a tension that crackled in the air. "Would you care to share, sir?" Ethan finally asked, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. The janitor cleared his throat, his voice soft yet steady. "It's about belonging, son. When you create something, it should feel like home for everyone involved." Ethan took a step closer. There was something profound in those words. It felt like a key turning in a lock. Belonging. How do we make sure everyone feels that? The janitor's eyes sparkled with a depth of understanding. "You listen, really listen. From all walks of life. You find common ground, like the roots of a tree, bound together yet reaching for the sky." Ethan nodded, absorbing the message. It wasn't just about building a physical space. It was about cultivating a community where every voice mattered, no matter how quiet. It was about real human connections. Feeling invigorated, he turned back to the crowd. "You hear that? Belonging is our foundation. If we don't build this together, everyone here, what are we really creating?" His words hung in the air like leaves ready to fall, waiting for the right push. As murmurs of agreement spread through the audience, Daniel snorted from his corner. "And what will that produce? A community garden?" His sarcastic tone cut into the hopefulness of the moment. "Maybe that's exactly what we need." Ethan shot back, his irritation flaring up again. Not every solution has to be a tech skyscraper. Sometimes, growth is slow, organic, but it's real. The energy in the room shifted again. Voices rose and fell, some in favor of Ethan's vision, others still skeptical. But Ethan felt a tide stirring beneath him, a sense of unity beginning to form, much like a gathering storm. Yet as he spoke, he glanced back at the janitor, who remained outside, a calm presence. "Do you have more wisdom to share with us?" Ethan called out, his heart full of hope. The janitor only smiled. "It's not about the words, but what you choose to do. Each act of kindness, however small, builds trust. Start with one person at a time." Ethan's heart raced. That made sense. This had to be a grassroots movement, and he needed to inspire others to embrace that responsibility. "So we start small. Everyone can be a part, and each of us can lift one another." Just as he finished, a handful of people in the crowd began to step forward, nodding slowly, recognizing their part in this newfound vision. Encouragement sparked like fireworks, lighting up dim faces. In that moment, he turned his gaze back to Daniel, who seemed caught off guard, his smirk replaced by a furrowed brow. The crowd was indeed shifting, and they were not powerless after all. "Do you all want to be heard?" Ethan asked, his voice carrying a hopeful weight. They collectively nodded, voices rising to a swell of agreement. With excitement building in his chest, he declared, "Then we'll have an open forum right here. I want to hear each one of you. Let's meet weekly at this same spot." Cheers erupted, creating a wave of enthusiasm that washed over the audience. It was more than a meeting. It felt like the dawn of a movement. But in that crescendo, Ethan caught the janitor's eye once more, and the man offered a slight nod as if to say, you're on the right path. What would their journey look like as they stepped into the future together? Despite the celebrations, the question remained. Was Daniel's cold ambition finally giving way to something that could unite them all, or was it merely the calm before a more formidable storm? Ethan felt the need to prepare for whatever was coming next. Who would truly rally behind a vision? Ethan felt the adrenaline course through him like electricity. As the crowd began to settle, he fought to calm his racing mind and heart. The excitement was palpable, but so was the weight of responsibility. He opened the door, but now it was up to everyone to step through. As the applause faded, he scanned the faces in the audience. Some were hopeful, eager to take part. Others wore expressions of skepticism, still unconvinced that real change could come from what felt like mere words. Among them, Daniel stood with his arms crossed, a scowl etched across his face. Ethan's stomach turned as he wondered if Daniel would retract into his usual cynicism or surprise him. "Gather around, everyone," Ethan said, his voice gaining strength. "Let us kick off our first discussion now. What does belonging mean to you?" The question rolled off his tongue like a catalyst, igniting discussions all around the room. People began speaking over one another, some standing, some still seated. A timid woman near the back raised her hand. "I think it means feeling safe to share your ideas." A young boy, hardly older than 10, blurted out, "It's like being in a family." Lively discussions split the crowd into smaller groups. Ethan walked around, lending an ear to snippets of conversation, feeling the energy shift with each exchange. Laughter erupted from the left as two people connected over shared interests. Tears glistened in another woman's eyes as she shared her struggles with loneliness since moving to the area. "Exactly," Ethan shouted to the crowd. "Belonging is about connection. We must make space for everyone's story." He felt passionate, the kind of passion he didn't know he had until this very moment. As he wandered among them, he noticed the janitor, leaning against the wall. The man watched intently, and Ethan felt an almost magnetic pull to him. Perhaps it was the quiet confidence he exuded or the understanding that mirrored Ethan's own growing resolve. But then, Ethan's buoyancy faltered when he overheard Daniel. "This is all a waste of time. A bunch of random people sharing feelings won't change anything. You want results, you need action." The sharpness of his words cut through the air. Ethan paused, feeling the doubt creeping back in. Did Daniel have a point? Was mere chatter really enough to make tangible change? He took a moment to inhale deeply, gathering his thoughts. "Daniel, what kind of action do you think we should take?" Ethan asked, raising his voice to incorporate the entire crowd. "Let us hear it." Daniel hesitated. The crowd watched, tension hovering in the air. "Well, some plan, something measurable. Are we building a community center, or what?" Ethan blinked, realizing the truth clicking into place. "You're right. We do need a plan, but it must be built on these conversations. We don't start with brick and mortar. We start with hope, with collaboration." The crowd murmured in agreement, but Ethan sensed Daniel's distaste. An idea struck him. "Let us brainstorm together. What are the steps we can take in the next month to create a sense of belonging?" Excited chatter filled the space again, ideas flying back and forth. Someone suggested a community art project, while another proposed a potluck dinner. Every voice added texture, building a tapestry of unity. Yet, as the discussions unfolded, Ethan caught the janitor's eye once again. He approached him. "What do you think? Are we on the right track?" The janitor smiled gently. "You're weaving the threads together, Ethan. Just remember that every thread counts, both the small and the large." As the room continued to buzz with energy, Ethan felt a spark of fear. Yes, they were coming together, but would dwelling in conversation and sentiment actually lead to anything concrete? What awaited them on this path? With thoughts swirling in his mind, he realized this was just the beginning. They had stirred something deep within the community, but could they hold on to it? And as Daniel's skeptical gaze rested on him, Ethan understood the coming weeks would test them all. What if the challenge ahead was far more complicated than he thought? How would he balance ambition with the fragile hope they just ignited? Ethan stood at the front, heart pounding with a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. The air crackled with possibilities, yet Daniel's words echoed in his mind, casting shadows over the bright conversation. Could they really shape a stronger community just through words? Doubts crept in. making him rethink everything that had just begun to blossom. As the discussions unfolded, he felt the weight of Daniel's skepticism pressing down. What if it all fell apart? Finally, taking a deep breath, he turned back to the crowd. Let's not just talk. Let's put our ideas to practical use. We need to pick something to focus on, a starting point to build from. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience. As more hands shot up, Ethan's pulse quickened. Yes, let us hear it. What are our top 3 ideas? A woman with bright glasses spoke first. Community garden. We could bring people together to grow food and friendships. Yes, someone yelled from the back. A potluck would be amazing. We can share our culture through food. Ethan nodded, feeling hope swell inside him. With each suggestion, the crowd grew more animated, faces lighting up with energy. They were coming alive, taking ownership of their belonging. He glanced around the room, noting the mix of excitement and determination, then returned to the janitor. What about you? What do you think? He believed everyone's voice mattered, including this man who seemed tethered to something deeper than the surface discussions. The janitor's expression shifted, a spark in his eye. Sometimes, it's all about the small moments. People may overlook those tiny connections, but they're the ones that build bridges. His words struck Ethan as profound, mingling with the energy spinning around them. Suddenly, Daniel shouted, cutting through the buzz. You really think some garden is going to fix everything? Grow up. We need hard results. A charity drive? A job fair? Something substantial. Ethan felt the tension rise in the room. Daniel was right in a way. Actions held value, and they couldn't just float in the clouds of conversation. Okay, listen, he called out, raising his hands. The clamor quieted. Let us combine ideas. We can start with the garden, but we'll host an event there. What if we throw a community day around the harvest? We can introduce job opportunities too. Everyone wins. The crowd caught on, and buzz began anew, voices blending into a symphony of ideas. Yes, workshops. Let us do music, performance art. Laughter and agreement filled the air, a melody Ethan hadn't expected but desperately needed. Yet, amidst the joyous whirlwind, doubt lingered. What if they couldn't pull it off? What if the tension between Daniel's practicality and the community's dream led to a fracture? Soon, as they transitioned into planning groups, Ethan pulled Daniel aside. I appreciate your fire, really. But what do you want to see happen? Daniel hesitated, searching Ethan's eyes. I just want results, man. I've seen communities try and fail. It's painful. The concern on his face was palpable, as if he bore scars from unfulfilled hopes. Ethan understood now. Daniel wasn't a detractor. He was a guardian against disappointment. What if we change that? He proposed, conviction igniting his voice. Let us prove that together we can create something lasting. Daniel met Ethan's gaze, uncertainty still lingering but replaced by a flicker of hope. Fine, I'll help, but I need to know steps. What's our first action? Before Ethan could answer, the janitor ambled up, a glint of wisdom in his eyes. You need to give people roles. Empower every thread. The room buzzed frantically behind them, but in that moment, Ethan's heart steadied. Empowerment, accountability, these were the essentials of community. But how could he sustain that passion beyond this first meeting? With new fire, he nodded to Daniel, ready for a plan. All right, let us get people organized. His thoughts raced, the energy in the room unstoppable. As ideas flowed and roles were assigned. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that bigger challenges awaited beyond this newfound enthusiasm. Could they convert the excitement into real, lasting change? Just then, a young girl approached, eyes bright with innocence. Can I help? She asked, holding out a piece of scrap paper where she'd drawn a colorful tree. Yes, Ethan replied, heart swelling. But as he glanced back, the weight of Daniel's skepticism remained. What if this first step led them down a path of hard choices and deeper challenges? How would they navigate the obstacles ahead? What awaited them as they took their first united steps into an uncertain future? The planning session crackled with energy, voices bouncing off the walls like ping-pong balls. People jumped from one idea to another, their hope knitting them closer together. Ethan felt it an undeniable force. It was beautiful, but he also sensed the invisible thread of tension still lurking beneath the surface. He stepped back for a moment, allowing the noise to wash over him. The vibrant discussions surged, yet worries nagged in the corners of his mind. Daniel stood at the edge, arms crossed, watching the crowd with a mix of skepticism and guarded hope. Ethan approached him again, wanting to bridge the gap between their visions. "Hey, what if we set clear roles right now?" Ethan suggested. "You bring your practicality, I'll handle the vision. Together, we can leverage both. What do you think?" Daniel straightened, his brows furrowing. "Roles sound fine, but what if nobody follows through? We don't know each other well enough. Trust takes time. What if none of this happens?" Ethan pushed back against spiraling fears. "It starts here, Daniel. We can't wait for trust to grow. We build it through action. Small actions lead to trust. It's like watering a plant, right? One drop at a time." As if on cue, the young girl returned, her drawing clutched tightly. "I want to help with the garden," she declared. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and the room turned to watch her. Bright blush colored her cheeks, and her innocent excitement pulled smiles from the adults. Ethan knelt to her level, engaging her directly. "What would you like to plant?" "Flowers. And tomatoes. They can go together," she exclaimed, her voice ringing with sincerity. "Right. Flowers and tomatoes. We could call it the community garden, a place for everyone to come together. Everyone gets a piece." Ethan's voice trailed off, imagining the vibrant scene. But he felt Daniel's gaze still heavy on his shoulders. "See," Daniel said softly, a hint of a smile creeping in. "You already have someone ready to work." "Yes, and we can start by choosing a spot after we finish here. A few plants to get us going, and we can build it up as we go." Around them, others leaned in, engaged by the girl's enthusiasm. The energy surged again, louder now, more alive. Ethan smiled, but it wasn't he just for the idea. It was the deeper human connection that formed in that moment, a feeling that felt almost tangible. "I'll lead the garden team," someone in the back shouted. Ethan turned to Daniel, his heart racing. "See, this is happening. We just have to keep pushing." Yet a flicker of unease persisted in the back of his mind. Could this excitement last? Could transitional tasks like planting and organizing indeed create a broader sense of community? Or would it all drift away like fleeting summer memories? As the crowd swayed between laughter and planning, the janitor observed quietly in the corner. Ethan met his eyes, diving deep into his quiet wisdom. "Remember," the janitor said, stepping closer, "it's the connections you foster that will nurture this place. Not just meetings and tasks. Write down every plan, but don't forget to let people feel like they matter." Ethan nodded, a wave of inspiration crashing over him. He could see where this was leading. The community beyond gardens, beyond meals, was seeking more than just practical outlets. They were hungry to belong. But how to cultivate that? With excitement still rippling through the crowd, Ethan raised his hands again, feeling the moment slip through his fingers if he didn't act. "Let us take our ideas and set a date for our first community day. Everyone can come together, share their talents, and make this place ours." Cheers erupted, voices melding as plans unfolded, close to chaos yet deeply united. Just as hope surged, so did uncertainty. What if the participation fizzled out? Or worse, what if their voices fell silent again after the initial excitement? In a quieter corner, Daniel leaned closer to Ethan, a softness in his eyes. "But what if everything you just rallied for comes crashing down? What will you do then?" Ethan paused, his smile fading for just a second. Doubt wrapped around him like a cold blanket. "I don't know, man," he admitted, the weight of responsibility settling heavy on his chest. "But we have to try. Even if we fail, at least we tried together." As the room buzzed with fervor, the reality of what lay ahead settled upon Ethan. A odd of unity fueled by uncertainty could only carry them so far. How would they navigate the follow-through, the heart of their endeavor? Little did they know, a storm of emotions and choices loomed ahead, ready to test their resolve in ways they couldn't foresee. Would they thrive, or would they unravel? The days leading up to Community Day were filled with a whirlwind of activity. Ethan barely had a moment to sit still. Flyers were printed, posts were made on social media, and pots and soil piled up in the back room. A sense of urgency fueled their preparations, but underneath it all, Ethan could feel something different, an electric buzz of anticipation mingling with doubt. Can we really pull this off? He thought as he stared out the window, watching dark clouds gather in the sky. The leak in the roof reminded him of the fragility of their plans. What if they opened the doors and no one showed up? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan returned to the community center. He found a few volunteers sorting through garden supplies, their hands stained with dirt and debris. Laughter filled the air, a sound he clung to as if it were a lifeline. He walked over, joining in the banter, letting their energy help lift some of the weight off his shoulders. Daniel entered the room, and Ethan noticed the way his presence dimmed the buzz just a bit. He had been a steady figure during discussions, but Ethan could sense the caution still etched on his features. Tonight would be different, though. It's all coming together, Ethan said, trying to sound hopeful despite his own uncertainties. Is it? Daniel shrugged. What if it falls apart? I don't see everyone's dedication being as strong after today. What if we end up disappointed? Ethan's heart raced. But think about it. Just look around. These people are here because they want to be. It's about more than just a garden. It's about us building something together. We can't let fear hold us back. Daniel leaned against the wall, arms still crossed, analyzing Ethan. I get it, but look. Ethan interrupted, emotion bubbling in his voice. I see everyone leaving their worries at home to be here, to try something new, something bigger than themselves. Daniel's shoulders relaxed a bit, his brow unfurrowing. Okay, but we need to prepare for any possible fallout. If the energy does fizzle out after today, we need a plan. Just let the day happen. Daniel, Ethan pleaded. If we're going to build trust, we need to take the leap and not be afraid of the fall. As if summoned by their discussion, laughter erupted from the main hall, and they both turned to see the young girl with the drawing, standing at the entrance, a nervous smile on her face. Is it time to get everything started? I can't wait. For a moment, they watched her enthusiasm spark inspiration in others, faces lighting up. Ethan caught Daniel's eye and saw the tiniest grin creep onto his face. Let us give it a shot, Daniel relented. I'll handle the schedule, and you keep the vibe alive. Deal, Ethan exclaimed, high-fiving his friend. He felt a surge of affirmation at that moment. The big day arrived. Ethan arrived early, heart racing as he set up tables, decorated with vibrant banners and fresh soil ready for planting. As the first guests began trickling in, he took a deep breath and welcomed them with open arms. Each face was a patchwork of excitement, worry, and hope. Yet as he looked around, there were pockets of tension, small groups huddled together, voices low. What conversations were they having? Were they second-guessing their presence? Ethan pushed those thoughts aside as he greeted them all warmly. Just then, the janitor appeared from the shadows, a knowing smile on his face. Remember, it's the stories you share today that grow the deepest roots, he murmured, planting a seed of comfort in Ethan's heart. The day unfolded like a dance of life. Laughter, music, and the scent of soil mingled in the air. But as the sun began its descent, a hush swept over the crowd, leaving Ethan standing center stage, the energy palpable yet quavering. Together, he called out, filled with determination. We've taken this leap. Let us not forget why we're here. No matter what happens next, let us commit to sharing our fears, our hopes with everyone. In that moment, with vulnerability hanging thick in the air, a sudden thunderstorm broke overhead, sending rain cascading down. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Was this a sign of disaster? Rushing around, he instinctively correlated the negative to what was happening. But he noticed something unprecedented. The community, instead of retreating in panic, gathered close beneath the overhang. They huddled together, laughter spilling forth as they started to dance in the rain. Ethan watched as Daniel broke into a smile, shaking his head. As the storm poured from the sky, he couldn't help but ask. Perhaps it wouldn't drown them after all, but rather forged deeper connections in the downpour. With a twinkle in her eye, the young girl shouted over the thunder, "Let us plant in the rain. The plants will love it." In that moment, joy and acceptance filled the air like nothing he had ever felt. How deep could their roots grow? Would they flourish weathering everything together, or would they wither, unnoticed, as quickly as the storm had begun? The answer lay ahead, just beyond the embrace of the rain. As the rain poured down, it felt like life itself was cleansing the fears that had clouded their hearts for too long. Laughter erupted like fireworks, unfurling the tension that had clung to the atmosphere. Sam, the janitor, stood at the edge of the action, a radiant smile spreading across his face as he watched his community come alive. It wasn't just a garden they were planting today. It was hope, unity, and resilience. Ethan was caught in a storm of emotions, his heart swelling with pride. As the rain drummed against their makeshift shelter, he yelled, "Let us not just plant. Let us share our stories. They're the seeds of who we are." The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound rising above the clatter of raindrops. And then, like a beacon, a woman stepped forward, her spirit ignited. "I grew up in this neighborhood. My family thrived here through love and connection. And I believe we can thrive again." Her voice rang with conviction, cutting a path through doubt. Then, another followed suit, a man who spoke of how his father had built the very homes they lived in, crafting a community piece by piece. Around them, voices wove a tapestry of shared experiences, vibrant threads of laughter, tears, and memories coming together in the rain. Each story was a soul laid bare. Each shared joy and anchor in their communal raft. Ethan felt overwhelmed, a warmth flooding his heart as he turned to Daniel, who stood, arms now unfolded, absorbing it all. He saw the glimmer of appreciation in Daniel's eyes, a softening that promised growth, not just for the community, but for everyone involved. "See." Ethan gestured toward the crowd, alive with energy. "This is what we needed. A place to belong. A chance to come together." Daniel nodded slowly, beginning to understand that the storm didn't break them. It united them in unexpected ways. As the stories flowed, the young girl with the colorful tree drawing wrapped her small arms around Ethan's waist, looking up with joy. "We can do this, right?" She beamed. He nodded, feeling an anchor in the depths of her innocent faith. "Together, we can," he affirmed, his voice steady. "We will tend to this garden, our dreams intertwined just like the roots of a tree." The crowd cheered, a chorus of hope blending with the rain's rhythm. But as he glanced back at Sam, the quiet janitor who had sparked this whole transformation, Ethan knew this wasn't just about a singular moment. It was the culmination of countless struggles and triumphs, the essence of their shared humanity woven into every interaction. When the rain finally tapered off, leaving a fresh scent in the air, the sunny rays broke through the clouds, painting the scene in golden glimmers. A rainbow stretched across the sky, encircling the community, their struggles brightening into something beautiful. With the crowd buzzing with possibilities, Sam stepped forward, his heart full. "We're more than just individuals, we're a family that grows together." The applause that erupted felt like a heartbeat, echoing through the very foundation of Lincoln High. "Let us celebrate this togetherness," Ethan shouted, energized by their connection. "We'll schedule regular meetings. We'll nurture this garden and keep sharing our stories," he said. "This is just the beginning." Daniel stepped up beside him, a newfound spark in his eyes. "And I will be there every step of the way, helping to shape our vision into reality," he vowed, surprising everyone, including himself. The crowd erupted in applause again, the thrill spreading like wildfire. As the sun dipped low, the residue of the day lingered sweetly. The community stood together, encircling their dreams, and beneath it all was a profound understanding of belonging, every smile, every shared laugh a step toward their new future. In that moment, everything that had once felt so fragile transformed into something solid. They were no longer just individuals orbiting around their lives. They were interconnected roots thriving in one garden of unwavering community. That night, as laughter still echoed and hearts beat as one, Sam looked around at the faces, each glimmering with hope and promise. He felt his own heart burst, not just with pride, but with a radiant sense of purpose. They had embraced vulnerability, shared the weight of their dreams, and in doing so, shaped a legacy that would grow long after the storms passed. And as he mopped the floors of Lincoln High the next day, he did so with a renewed spirit, knowing that every corner he polished was now a reflection of a brighter future for his children and their community. The journey of transformation had begun, and the echoes of Kolshi Bekir would usher in everything that followed. This, right here, felt like home. Now, this is the moment you need to seize. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others witness the power of transformation. Comment down below with your reactions and feelings about the ending Your Voice Matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us cultivate stories that shape our world.